viewer, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Youth Voice Show here on Hope Channel Uganda. Hosting this conversation tonight, my name is Edison Masereka. I am a teacher, a leader, and a public speaker. Today we are discussing a very interesting topic, faith-based education, benefits and challenges. Now, the church is dominated by young people, and most of these young people are of school-going age. They are going to secondary schools, they are going to post-secondary schools. And today we're going to be doing a comparative analysis between faith-based schools and non-faith-based schools. What do we have in faith-based schools that we don't have in secular schools? Or what do we have in secular schools that we don't have in faith-based schools? Which one is better? What would we recommend for the young person out there? And to help us unpack this conversation, I am having a panel of very interesting young people. And on my extreme right, I am having a gentleman who is not new to this show, Mr. Benedict Luswata. He comes to us from Makerere University Business School. We are happy to have you on the show, Benedict.
Pleasure is all mine.
And next to him, we are having a very beautiful young woman over there, Miss Jemima Chimono. She's an accountant, and she comes to us from SDA Church Nakawa. You're welcome to the show. And right over there, we are having teacher Patricia Musasizi. She's a teacher in making. She comes to us from Kampala International University. Good to have you back on the show, Patricia.
I'm glad to be here.
And lastly, but not of least importance, we are having Counsel Ruth Nakamia. She comes to us from SDA Church Waise, and she's a student of law at Islamic University in Uganda. You are welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. So like I've said, we are discussing faith-based education. And just in a minute, each one of us is going to take just a minute to share your experiences. Which schools did you go to? Were they faith-based? Were they secular? And what were your experiences there? We start with you, Benedict.
Well, I am not known to be the starter of everything, but it's okay. I'll take this opportunity.
Yeah.
My experience during my high school was a combined from my senior 1 to senior 4 was faith-based institution. That's Lakeside College Luzira. And the other was not. My Form 5 and Form 6 was not. I wouldn't call it a faith-based. It was a secular high school, my Form 5 and Form 6. But it is quite different exposures in both these institutions. And you would clearly tell that this is an Adventist institution and this is not an Adventist institution, due to by the virtue of the fact of the activities that kept going on there. There are certain activities you kept seeing in a non-Adventist school, and the activities that you kept seeing in an Adventist school. Issues of the Sabbath, Sabbath preparation. Friday afternoon was the best experience because you'd study for a few hours. I think on that entire day would not have anything like attention in class because you would know. And in the afternoon,
You're chilling.
You're preparing for the Sabbath. And Saturday, straight in chapel, and you'll be singing full day. But in a non-Adventist institution where I was, Saturday was a normal day. You'd be in class. If it is preps in the morning, 4 a.m., you'd be in class doing preps. And the other course of the activities continued. Maybe on a Sunday morning, because they wanted to cater for different religions in the school, they would put a section that this is for Catholics, this is for Anglicans, this is for. Then the Adventists as well. A few students there would come and be there, but it was not in their core, because if a Sunday came and it was a parents' meeting or a VD, those
Everyone
activities
had to comply.
They wouldn't happen. So it was not in their core belief. But on an Adventist institution, on a Saturday, even if it rained, that would be automatically a Sabbath, and every student would be allowed to attend. Allow me to stop there because experiences were immense.
Jemima, what are your experiences?
My experiences, personally, I think I didn't get a chance to go to an Adventist school. Yeah. But most of times I've been to Catholic school. So I have a lot of experience with Catholic schools. Yeah, because when I joined my primary level, I was at an Anglican school. My lower secondary, I was at a Catholic school. Then I went to a general school that that is where I sat from. Then my A level, whole 2 years, I was in a Catholic school. And this is where I experienced more, because this is where I used to stay in school. But previously I used to be like in hostel. Yeah, hostel. So the where we used to stay wasn't in school. But now, because we are in school, we used to learn a lot about Catholicism. We used to read rosaries, like those long hour of rosaries, yeah. And then those days of fasting. Now, like this period of when it comes to Easter period, hope. Oh my God! And now we could do fasting. We could like prayers every day, every now and then. And then when it comes to way of the cross, yeah, we could. Sometimes you move because it is an influence. It is also a chance for you to go out and have fun. Out of the school. You have fun. You buy some Rolex for yourself, because it would really be rare for you to have a Rolex. So you just go for fun, and like a lot of weekends we have a lot of fun, music, movie nights,
Danke, you call it.
Yeah, okay, I didn't want to bring out that word. Yeah, so all those sets we really experience a lot. Yeah.
How about you, Patricia?
Well, me basically, I don't know whether it should be fortunate or unfortunate, but I guess fortunately, I've been in an Adventist section all through. O level. I was at Bugema Adventist Secondary School, and I was at Hilton High School. So basically, my experience there was
concentrated Adventist.
Exactly. I know. So what I found in those schools, actually I should call them sister schools, because they had similar things that were happening in them. And what I loved most was the Friday afternoon, like he said. On Friday, you would know you'll study half day, and from the other half, you're having, you missed. Yes. Go, it is enjoyable. Just know you'll have to chill, prepare for the following day, and you assured of a full day. Saturday, you're resting. Nothing like books. You're not stressed.
You guys have an extra day on Sunday,
and even on Sundays, just know you're going to have some studies, but they are mainly revision. So on Saturday you can also be sure of some schools. Me personally, I loved schools, like primary schools could come and they present in the afternoon, like AY. So from Bugema, we really had those beautiful sessions.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Special meals.
I know. Christmas days.
Yes. And
talk about the special meals, breakfast, kawa. Oh my.
And finally, Ruth, share your experiences.
Well, I went to entirely secular schools. For my O level, I was at Macquarie College School. I would like to say that school was Anglican based, but I don't think so, because they had their priorities, really. We had the Anglicans, the Catholics, and the Muslims. Adventists, no. Then for my A level, I went to Trinity College Nabingo, a single-sex school, and I'm glad I went there. Away from what you know, dear viewer. Yeah, but then what I would say is that the experiences vary, really. When I was in Marcos, you had to choose, where do you want to belong? Do you want to be with the Anglicans, the Catholics, the Muslims? Do you just want to be there? Yeah, really. So, and as a person, I love music, I love to dance. So the Anglicans were my people. So Sunday, me and the Anglican vibes, yes, we would dance for the Lord, because really it's just dancing for the Lord, and we would dance for the Lord. Then when I went to a single-sex school, which was Catholic based, now that was a whole different experience. What I would love was the Easter period. You know how we just read these things in the Bible, there was Holy Thursday, you know, there's the Passover where people eat the lamb, then the unleavened bread. You guys, we would eat unleavened bread.
Oh my God.
We would have it was called Kaliga Day, and on this day we were tasked to dress like Jews.
Kaliga.
So, and because we are girls, you tie a bed sheet around you, something on your head like a Jew. Then we come, we eat the bitter herbs. Okay, now the greens that are bitter, you're going to eat the unleavened bread, then you're going to eat the kaliga, now the meat. It was nice. We would watch the Passion of Christ movie. Then some things, of course, were a bit strange. I think, now I don't remember the actual day, but that day when Christ was being crucified,
That would be a Friday.
So that Friday we were supposed to be sad. Now you're
Oh.
forced to be sad because what business do you have laughing when the Christ is dying on the cross?
But it's dying for me. I'm happy.
I know.
Beloveds, you were not supposed to be happy. Be sad. Actually, even our food would be sad. So in my school we would not like eat posho and beans just like as a meal. So it would be rice, posho and beans. So meaning as a student you could choose to just eat rice the whole term because both meals are there. That day you
Posho
eat
and
posho
Chai.
and beans, and it
Tough.
is sad, you guys. Sad. Should the chaplain find you laughing, you will tell him what business you have to laugh about.
Could you smear
Thank you.
ash?
And now
Oh, yeah,
I'm
it used to be there.
we're now going to get deeper into the conversation, and I want to start with Patricia and Benedict, who went to faith-based schools. And maybe for our viewer, our working definition of faith-based schools is those schools which are on the foundation of the SDA Church, either SDA affiliated or founded by the SDA Church. They are what we are calling faith-based schools, and the rest we're going to call them secular. So Patricia, what do you think is in faith-based schools that is not in secular schools? Share briefly, and then Benedict will share.
All right. So, something that I've gotten from faith-based schools is the ability to express myself. That is in terms of speech, how I present myself. Because in SDA schools, in faith-based schools, you are given opportunity to serve. We know pulpits, right?
Yes.
So you're given opportunity to go escort the preacher. You come and you know what happens. And I think that is not the case in other schools. That is the secular schools. Yeah. So, and the other thing is I've got to grow more in Christ because, you know, I've not had a lot of battles in my mind, I should say, psychological torture, you know, because since I was raised in a Christ way, or a background that is of God, and I've lived up to that, even in the secondary school, I've not been tortured mentally.
You've not been challenged.
Yeah, I haven't been challenged.
Okay.
These things of having exams on Saturday, what.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you. Benedict.
Okay, one clear aspect I would say is in an Adventist school that is not in another secular institution would be that the purpose of religion. I think even in, I don't know if it's in the Catholic based schools as well, but in regards to religion, it is a core aspect in that particular institution. So I remember my coming in senior one. That day, if you didn't have a Bible and a hymn book, you would not enter the school. You see, that is even a core. You would miss bread, you would miss soap.
But no Bible.
But if you missed a Bible and a hymn book, you were not allowed at the school premises. Even when you're joining the school, the first things that you pay for is a Bible and a hymn book. So in this aspect, it is different from an institution that is not faith-based, I would say. Because for a non-faith-based institution, the first thing that we ask you is, did you have a practical book for chemistry? Do you have a practical book for biology?
Yeah.
Did you pay seminar fees? Things like that. But in a faith-based one, they made it a point that at least you have the equipments to fit into the first core of this institution, and that
But-
is faith.
Priority.
But maybe also just a bit in with some secular schools, with some of them. Now, like my young sister also goes to a secular school,
Okay.
and she's in senior one. And while she was reporting, because I took her, one of the things they asked for was a Bible.
Okay.
A Bible in a translation that she could easily understand. And without that Bible, your child is not going to be registered.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a secular school.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but it's just something with some.
With
Now,
some.
not
Yeah,
all of
with
them.
some.
Because me, with my experience, when I was in senior one, actually, all the schools I went to, no one asked for my Bible.
Exactly.
No one.
Exactly.
Yes,
And
very
and I think for some of those secular institutions, I think it is. I would say my exposure with the other school was out of the efforts of religious personnel in that institution.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
pushed that if student, if they are Catholics, they would come with the Bible.
Yeah.
If they are Muslims, they at least come with something that identifies them with as a Muslim. The intention in those non-secular, if they intend to have it, they make it a point that at least you don't come as without faith. Without faith, you need to be of a particular dominion.
Yes.
Even you look at those registration sheets that you go to, and they
Yes.
say, "What is your religion?"
Yeah.
You actually
yeah.
have to feel them.
Yeah.
And for institutions that are not faith-based, if they're intentional on promoting that as well, they would actually put you in a section. They would say, you came in as a Catholic, Catholics meet their side. But not all of them do that.
Yeah.
And the percentage
Yeah.
would be
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Benedict. So, Ruth and Jemima, what did these guys miss out on? What do we have in secular schools that we don't have in faith-based schools? We start with you, Ruth.
Well, I think they miss the real challenging interactions. They miss that. When you go to secular schools, they have a test of everyone, a feel of everyone from every kind of environment. Because now, when you look at Adventist schools, the biggest percentage is going to be of Adventists. When you come to our secular schools, you're going to be the only one, literally. You could be the only one in a class. You could be the only one in a stream. There are chances where you're the only one in the whole school. Yeah? So the actual thing that you guys miss is the interaction with people from these different environments. I got to sit in a class with a minister's kid. At one point, I sat with a governor's daughter. Like a whole different kind of experience. You're seated with people whose parents are CEOs. Meanwhile, your mother is a market vendor. What these people have is so different from what you have. What they've been exposed to is so different from what you've been exposed to. So you're going to sit down and you're going to start mixing brains with these people. You're going to be picking their values and virtues, especially if they are good. For instance, a friend of mine is a very good time manager. Very good. So I get to pick that from that person. Some of these people come from families where business is a priority. They, at a young age, someone has knowledge about finances. And when you sit with them, they're bringing these things on board. Like, oh, my mom works with Bank of Uganda. They have this scheme and it works like this. And most of these people, most of these big personalities within our country barely choose faith-based schools.
Exactly. That's
sure.
why I was coming.
Most of these personalities are affiliated to other religions.
Yes.
So they will choose those other schools. So I think the people who went to faith-based schools missed out on that experience.
Maybe clarity. Faith-based institutions as well have diversity of those different people.
Sure.
But it's not allowed to show out.
Yes.
Oh, really?
It's not allowed to show out
It's
because
suppressed,
you'd still sit with a Catholic in an Adventist institution, but because in the spaces where you are, the Catholic religion is not are allowed to practice.
Yes.
You would not literally
Yeah.
have
But-
openness and expression
But
of
that's
that.
also
You're
a
right.
thing because they say that you're not supposed to exercise your religion within this environment. So even us, as we're in the secular schools, we are not allowed to exercise our religion. But then you have capacity of choosing how you represent
Yes.
your religion.
At a personal level.
Yeah.
At a corporate level, maybe as a group of students, you may not, but at a personal level, there are things you can be able to do.
Exactly.
Let's have Jemima to share her experiences. What is there in secular schools that you
What
don't
did
have
I
in
miss?
faith-based schools?
What did Patricia miss?
Patricia, I want to inform you that you missed
I want to hear that.
you missed a touch to hear about the real world.
Yeah.
Yes. I know, like in Adventist schools, we are based with religion, basically. You'd be like, on Sabbath, you're supposed to go to church, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do this, but we forget the important aspect that after school, we are going to interact with a lot of people who are not Adventists.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And that also limits us, like how we can explore to come up with how we challenge, how also we develop. They teach us how to develop, and then you be aggressive in solving challenges.
And just to add
Yes.
a bit on what she has said, the secular schools tend to put challenging situations for you that
Yeah.
you have to navigate as an Adventist who is in that environment. For instance, where I went for my O-level, we would have a teacher who is aware that there is Danke on this particular Sunday, and she organizes a fellowship. So
And
as there is Danke in the main hall, there is a fellowship in this class.
Yeah.
So you have to choose, do I go for Danke or go for fellowship? So the secular schools give you that challenging aspect
You're
of
exercising your faith.
get to choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I take it as an advantage because all my time, given that I've never been in in faith school, and still the fact that I'm still here standing, it gave me that challenge that I'm able to stand against anything that can come
Your
along.
way, yeah.
I don't think, maybe I appreciate that God has put me in that situation that He has not left
So that
me.
you may learn.
Yes.
Thank you.
And sometimes when I get a challenge and then I feel like I'm going too far, He will come in.
Okay.
Because He has put me there not to go astray or to go away from Him. That also shows me His love
Okay.
to me. Yes, I realized how I understood God, and I knew how He loves me much.
Thank you. Before we go for the break, I want us to just look at a bit of the challenges in these different aspects. And Benedict, I want to talk about what are some of the challenges in faith-based schools?
It's actually going to be a continuation of
Yes,
what these members are submitting. We don't get that real life experience because in this world where we live, it is not purely Adventist.
Yeah.
And we do not run on a narrative that is predetermined and said on every Saturday you have to go to
To church. Yeah.
You're going to live in a neighborhood where those people party up to morning. Okay? And at some point, it would be rare for you to be in an Adventist institution and be peer pressured by other people that are not
Adventists, yeah.
because of the structure of the school. Now, the challenge with that is at some point we will never get exposed, because remember, you spend almost like about 10 months at school.
At
Yes.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would want to think 6 years, or to some extent, people get even 7 years in primary. They are all in Adventist
In
schools.
Adventist
So
school.
you will think that is how life literally runs. And this person that has gone into a secular institution is actually being exposed with those day-to-day challenges. And how they manage that day-to-day challenge is actually getting them a better person,
A better
Yeah.
person.
leaving the person who attended an Adventist institution far miles.
Yeah.
You get the point?
Yeah.
So that is a challenge with attending a faith-based institution. Yes.
Life is just good. Unless you're in such a situation, you can never understand
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Right.
That
Yeah.
is true.
Yes, we've talked about the challenges in secular schools a little, but could you just add on something small in just 30 seconds before we go for the break?
About the challenges we face in the secular schools.
Yeah.
One thing for sure is with behavior. When you're in a secular school, there's a way everyone in that environment behaves. And especially the secular schools that are affiliated to a certain religion. So as you're trying to experience these different aspects of their religion, if you're not deeply rooted,
Exactly.
you might sink
Exactly.
in their
Exactly.
waters. And that's a very, very big challenge, which calls upon us as young people to prioritize our religion. It calls upon parents to play their role, to nurture us as we are growing up. And as we leave our parents, we need to normalize standing out. We need to be self-aware and to be aware of what we believe in, because
important.
otherwise it's very dangerous.
Sure.
Very important.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to look at aspects of diversity and inclusivity, and then morality and spirituality. And also, we are going to be looking at the misconceptions that exist about secular and then faith-based schools. This is the Youth Voice Show on Hope Channel Uganda. We take a quick break, and we come back shortly. From that short break, and we are looking at faith-based education, benefits and challenges. Remember, this is the Youth Voice Show on Hope Channel Uganda. You can be able to access Hope Channel Uganda on the different providers like free-to-air, Star Times, and also you can be able to go to our YouTube channel as Hope Channel Uganda, and you access this show from anytime, anywhere. But at the same time, you can download the Hope Channel app so that you can be able to watch Hope Channel everywhere you are, even if you're not near the comfort of your television set at home. We are discussing faith-based education, and before we went for the break, we had looked at a number of aspects, the challenges here and there, what people who go to secular schools miss out if they don't go to faith-based schools, and vice versa. And I want us to look at aspects of are faith-based schools challenging enough? And I'm forwarding this to Benedict and Patricia. Are they challenging enough? During the break, we were having a conversation about do they prepare students for the real world? Benedict, what do you think?
Okay, are they challenging enough? My take would be not really, but it can change in terms of improving.
Yes.
Let's say. Because like I submitted before, that a secular school includes all students coming from a diversity of areas.
Yes.
So very many people, it gives you a real sense of how the real world looks like. In that you would not have a predetermined religion set standards that every Saturday you have to go to church. But on a faith-based institution, it's like a routine thing. It's like an instruction. You just have to obey. You just have to obey. And in real world, unless you have that discipline of choosing, that's the only way you're going to survive and maneuver through a number of things. But where your instructions are set, and whether you are supposed to follow those instructions, that is easy life, I personally think. So the challenge comes in that you will have to relate with a number of people. You have to relate with a number of people in that environment. But if you choose not to interact with them, that would mean it is a challenge to you as well on how you're going to survive in the real world. So I don't think they're challenging enough, but they can improve on a sense of creating awareness and painting the picture. We are good at the faith streamlining faith-based concepts, but we also need to be very intentional on painting the picture on how the real world actually looks, because you get out there and you literally can't relate with other people that are not your religion, because by the fact that you speak to them, you're already biased because they are not of your religion. And that is what we get from the faith-based institutions. A person that is not an Adventist is a very big sinner, and you don't have to talk to them. You actually come out like a Pharisee or a Jew. You do not literally speak to any, because
you keep
by
pointing
the mere fact
out
that
on
you're
people.
speaking to a person that is not cleansed, you're already decontaminating yourself, contaminating yourself.
Yes.
With that.
Yeah.
So that is the challenging bit, because they're not challenging enough. We need to get more exposed
Yes.
and attention on it.
Yes, Patricia, what do you think?
I would say, if I drive us to the part of, academics, if we drive it there, probably they are not challenging enough. Why? If you compare these two, secular and faith-based, you'll find that secular schools normally perform better than these. And we always ask ourselves, why is it so? Why is it so? But I think the pressure that is in faith-based institutions is not enough for a student to be triggered to think and know that this is what I'm supposed to do. Because trust me, there are schools that are that will provide pressure, not from people, but when you see people doing things, that only gives you pressure, and you find yourself doing things the way they are supposed to be. So I think we require that pressure. We are too calm. You understand? We are too calm. God cares.
Yes, children of the Lord.
We
And
have
most of the
for
times
you.
you get to that the motto of the school, and they tell you how much they are doing holistic education, and the only thing that they are prioritizing, we rather get this student out as an Adventist rather than an excellent student in academics.
Yeah, because there is something I want to say. We need to get exposed to the world.
Exactly.
We really need to know what is happening
out there.
and how can I maneuver through. You understand? But me living in a one direction like this, I will not know where I'm standing. You understand? But someone who is exposed, when you do this, or this is what happens this side, so I can't go there, or because it is all about choice. Me personally, you have to choose.
And because this student who has been in an Adventist school or throughout, we get challenges, especially when we come out into the job market, employment world.
Exactly.
And then this is the only time, your very first time that you're supposed to choose. Either you have to go for work, or you have to. Because when you don't work on Saturday, you're not getting that job. But now you need that job because you need the money. It is the first time you're getting such an experience, so you even lack how to go about it.
And I think one of the contributing factors as to why we don't have very big representation in the hierarchy of the government is because we have chosen to be low key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Low key, and we are not networking enough.
Yeah, sure.
You see, this faith. I'm not saying faith-based institutions is bad institution. It's the best.
Exactly.
It is the best. It just needs a little more furnishing.
Yeah.
Trigger something small.
I think they need to add to their values what they bring out. It is not just the faith. There is more that makes this child a competent person in the outside world. The school where I went to for my A-level, one of the things they prioritized was how to groom an all-round woman.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we were called ladies of substance. And what they teach you goes to how to organize the dining table, how to dress. And every Sunday, as we're going for mass, you would put on a very long dress and heels. And not wearing heels was punishable.
Oh.
So as a girl in that school, I learned how to walk with heels, how to dress for church, how to set up a table, how to prepare meals, things like that. So it is not just grooming the mind in terms of faith and nurturing just the basics. It goes deeper to bring out this person competent enough to compete with other people.
Exactly.
Yes.
A fundamental point that she
Yes.
puts out, that we should get away, because I want to tell you, we should get away from just speaking about things or just putting them on paper or just painting them on the wall as a show.
Yeah.
Because when you say you do holistic education, it has to be reflected even to the students that you put out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
just putting a student out there and only they know is Matthew 7:13. You know what it says?
Yeah, I can tell
but when
you.
it comes to organizing a dining table,
They
I'm
can't.
telling you the fact, you cannot relate with a woman that knows how to do a dining table and a man who is only good in scripture, saying it, not even acting it.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
in actions. So a whole round kind of holistic exposure is important for the students. That is how we increase even our representation in the hierarchy of the government.
Thank you.
Right.
Let's speak about aspects of morality. And this is going to be for Jemima and Ruth, and you guys can equally supplement. How does it feel? You're being taught by people who don't share your values, and you're in an environment of people who don't share your values in terms of your faith values and these different things, and it's a whole world altogether. They have no issues watching some things, listening to some things, doing some things, and relating with maybe the opposite gender in a certain way. They have no issues with some of those things. Aspects of morality, how was it like, Jemima?
With morality, I think when you come to Adventist schools, there is that bit of parental thing that is within you. So you grow up with moral. But when it comes to public schools, those are secular schools, there is this lack of that a student, okay, they are more of business. Because they are not going to talk about a minister's student because he's bringing business to the so they have the freedom like to do anything like they want. Sometimes you feel like we are not being directed on what we are supposed to do. You do something wrong, but because this person is business oriented, it's going to be like it is okay. The dad will do what? We'll clear, we'll sort this out. You get. So we go on, and then also we have the peer. The peer that is around us. Like how she said, if you're not really very strong, you can easily be driven away. Yes. Because there is, now for us in my school, I went to St. Charles Kachidi International School. Every weekend, it was like a routine. Every Sunday, we could be having in a main hall, Danke.
Danke.
Yes, Danke. Yes, and then we used to have movie nights. Like, these are real movie nights. Not like the student, like it is movie nights. That is when I learned to watch movie in 3Ds. Yes.
Do you know 3D?
Yes. So sometimes when the things that happens in the movie night, if you're not really, you could end up also wanting to explore, to know what really happens. And then by the time you test once, trust me, it might be the continuation, the everyday thing. It gets stuck in you. So the pressure, peer influence that we meet in these secular schools sometimes do harm to us. Yeah.
Speak about morality, Ruth.
Well, these schools, however much they are secular, they also have what they stand for. But something I have learned is how I stand out. Regardless of how other people are speaking, how do I speak?
Exactly.
Because however much I'm in this environment, I remain God's representative. And now I must portray the God that I believed. Yeah. So these schools give you the exposure to different ways of living, but then you're left with a choice of how do I live? You're going to meet people who speak the way they want. You're going to meet people who really speak, who are toned down in terms of speech. You're going to meet people who behave in all sorts of ways, but you're going to choose. At one point, I had a teacher who would utter out words and they just alarmed, like, why are you telling us this? And that's who he is. But you choose, do I become this person or I have to be a different person?
Yes.
I want to think this as well. That gets down to your personal
Yes.
upbringing,
Yes,
or the
exactly.
personal
Exactly.
beliefs that you have.
Yeah.
But for a faith-based institution, it is even written on the gate. It is written on the gate. You find the 10 commandments at the gate. You find that in case giving a leeway to give you an exposure of a movie night at an Adventist school.
Must be a Christian
How?
movie.
It must be a
Imagine.
Christian movie
Exactly.
and
But you
watched
also
under close
Approved.
control by the chaplain.
Exactly.
And it has to be under close supervision.
Let me ask
Close
Patricia,
supervision.
have you attended prom?
Yeah.
There was
So
prom.
like in at your
But
school,
you also
your
realize,
prom is very different from my prom.
yeah, and I know
The
know
prom
friends
of-
who have been for
Did you
prom.
have prom with uniforms at Hilton?
No.
No,
Where?
I want to say this. The business of a prom is just coming in Adventist institutions.
It wasn't there.
Actually,
it is
some
just
of the
being
top
promoted.
SK schools now it's
When-
not there.
When
Really?
it
They
started,
have it with uniform and it's just a meal and.
But this
Sorry,
time round,
guys.
it was
Nice
a
meal.
This time round,
we
we were
bless
not
you
on
in the hands of the Lord.
I know.
Bless you in the hands of the
exactly,
Lord. You
it
don't
is
know.
just coming in because of the pressures out there.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, I know we're advocating for that exposure of how a real world literally looks like. Now we are trusting Adventist institutions for the structures they have. They can slot in a censored way that is organized.
Yeah.
Give us a real exposure of how the real world
Yes,
looks
yes,
like, but in an organized way and clearly articulating the lessons that we have to learn.
And
Yeah.
not compromising
Okay?
any values.
Than just giving us, just bringing prom.
Because
And you're not giving us what we have to learn from prom. Why a prom? You get the point?
Yeah.
So nurture it very well so that we can understand. That personal bit of you is actually why at all times, personally, I would advocate for a faith-based institution, an Adventist institution. It would nurture the young person, give you ground, because we all know.
But
Listen, we all know. Some people in the church are using an Adventist school as a scapegoat for spiritual
For
nurturing.
nurturing,
You
yeah.
get the
Yes,
point?
yeah.
That's right.
So, and you know very well that the generation we are going in right now is a very lazy generation. You get the point? So you would rather get your student in a faith-based institution and maybe the institution grows them spiritually, then they can get an exposure at
thank
And
you.
I've also had
that
such
that thing is really
experiences.
making parents lazy.
Yeah.
Because now they're not doing
Parents
their
are not
part.
playing their
They are.
role.
Yes, they're not playing their role because they know
the
my
school
kid
is going
is
to
going
do
to do
it.
something.
Yeah. It's going to teach my child how to dress, how to pray,
Uh-huh.
how to serve the Lord.
Exactly.
But then your
They-
child
they're
will
not
not get
telling
this
them that
nourishment from
Sabbath
home.
is Saturday. They're leaving it for the school.
Patricia, you had
They
something.
just
you
run through the
understand?
system.
Yes, Patricia.
Yeah, I just wanted to supplement on his, just giving out an example.
Okay.
Because we have come across certain people that have not been Adventists or that have come from secular schools and they are now joining the faith-based schools. And you'll find that the values they pick from the faith-based schools are high. Like they do really appreciate what is in there. I had a friend, and this friend of mine was he was very stubborn, and you know this kind of students that will jump out of the school, like the school fence, they have to move out in the night, what. So this
and
is,
go clubbing.
I know.
Did you experience that?
No, I didn't.
We saw those. We saw those.
So this friend of mine comes from such a kind of an environment and comes to a faith-based institution, and he used to try doing so, you know, because you can try carrying on what you have, Smanyanga, you have to skip classes, what. So he was doing so, and he could be caught, and he would be punished. Every other time he would be caught, punishment. So in a long run, he came to realize that probably for sure, why am I doing this? It is not really important. So he came to appreciate what was done to him. He came to appreciate the punishment. And right now, he's a very good person.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
So
And,
that is exactly what I was talking about.
The
That
nurturing
you
the
get the
individual.
child, get them to an Adventist institution, and it nurtures them because you don't have time. You let the school to nurture the child, and that continuous kind of punishment that looks like they need to humble you actually gets you a moral
line.
standard,
A moral standard, yeah.
that is acceptable to God.
thank you.
Yeah.
But
like
we are not
now what
encouraging
he's saying-
we are not encouraging parents to leave their students,
Uh-huh.
their children.
Teaching starts at
You
home.
have to take part.
Teaching starts at home.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the
I-
way, when you
as-
go to Adventist schools, you find that there are more of the kids are more of not being Adventist because the parents outside there, they realize how moral the Adventists are. So
sure.
they take them there also to teach them good
And I'll
manners.
tell you
Yeah.
for a fact, as a teacher, some of the best children I've dealt with, I've handled, are those who have been taught from home. That when they come to school, I'm just adding on.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
That should
children
be
who
the
come to
case.
school and the parents have not done anything are hard to
Very,
deal
very
with.
stubborn.
Yes, very hard to deal with. So I want us to speak about some of the myths and stereotypes about both of the aspects. Is it really true that everyone who goes through faith-based education, for example, is going to turn out a good person spiritually? No. Or is it that everyone who goes to secular-based schools then
Is a
will not
very
have
bad
values?
person.
Let's talk about some of those things. Patricia, and then we can have Benedict.
Okay, with me, what I would say is it is not a guarantee that since Patricia went through a faith-based institution, she will live up to the beliefs, she will live and go to heaven. It is not a guarantee, my dear. It is not. But I will bring this to a personal level. It all comes back to me. What am I doing and what am I believing in? Do I know who I am? Because if I can definitely define myself, then there I can find myself in a better position. But if I don't, then me being in an Adventist section cannot help me anywhere. And it is not something bad for someone who has been in a secular school. It is not a guarantee that these people are bad. They are exposed. They know they can differentiate from. They can differentiate the good from what is bad. So, basically, that is it.
Have you heard people saying that that one went to school, but actually school passed through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing. Because the heading of this entire conversation is whether we can have a religious person, a person get to a faith-based institution and actually carry some religious aspects. Let me tell you, some people go there and actually religion just passes through them and they don't get to pick anything.
Yeah, you're right.
So it is to some extent that when they go there, they can pick some religious aspects. But it's also true that they can go there and actually make it worse and they spoil those that they find there.
Yeah.
Same thing with the secular institution. You see that thing that we've been talking about, that secular universities have exposure. There are students that will go there and will still not get exposed.
Yeah.
You get the point? So it comes back to intentionality. With you as a parent, where you take the student to school, tell them the key expectations you want to get from them. Okay? If you want them to make friends, tell them front, because as a young person, sometimes we don't even know what we are looking for.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. Jemima, anything?
My perception is these kids, they lack social network. Sometimes the network we may connect is a pastor's child, and then we lack connection of outside. Because when you're in an Adventist school, the people that you're associated with are basically Adventists. So you don't get time to associate
all you
with
know
the
are
outside.
pastors' kids, elders' kids, deaconesses.
Exactly.
But me, I
not
think-
outside. Now, when it comes to job, employment
I want to say
world,
something on that very point you have mentioned.
it is okay. You're going to say it. You're going to say it. You find that a lot
will
of
not
institutions, the people who have influence in government, those higher positions, they are not Adventists. So because you didn't build the
Social
foundations very well, there's something you missed out.
Yes,
Yes.
Patricia, you had something.
Yeah, about that bit of connections. I think the reason as to why we are probably not so much connected is there is a kind where we are put on an equal level, like equality is there in faith-based schools. So you may not know that maybe Patricia is a child of
That's a very
minority.
important aspect.
So I guess that is where we can miss interacting with those big people.
But
getting those
now what's the
good
point?
connections.
I mean, if I come to your school and I'm like a minister's kid and you guys are not aware, what's the use? You need to be aware of the people around
Yeah,
you.
sure.
But the
because
ministers
it's the
are
people that are
always
going to help you.
I want to
But
also.
the people that are going to help you.
I want to give you a picture as well. That might be true in an institution, but it's not true in a church. In a church,
Yeah,
have you
yeah.
seen how secular students behave in church?
Yeah.
At one point, they're even more celebrated than people that went to Adventist schools. You get the point?
Yes.
So we actually get to live a myth
Okay.
in school,
Yes.
and when come outside, even to attend our local churches, it completely defies the
And
myth.
maybe my last question as we end the conversation: what more can faith-based schools do? Because we've seen they are lacking out on aspects of inclusivity, diversity, and also preparing students for the real world and the competitiveness. What can they do?
I think that what these schools should do is create avenues for exposure for the students.
Very true.
You see, when we are in our secular schools, you have moments of career guidance. And now our career guidance is not limited to being doctors and all that. They're going to bring for you people who are just content creators.
Oh, yes.
Like, so-and-so is a content creator and, you know. But when my perception, my presumption is when it comes to career guidance in the Adventist schools, they're going to look for, let's say,
Elder doctor.
so-and-so. You get my point?
Professor
Mrs. Elder.
Yeah, they're not bringing up someone who has been through a different
Yes.
course.
So they stay in the same
They
circle of
stay
the church
in-
setting.
Exactly.
And like
But
Bukema,
the
we
secular
had
schools
a
go
lawyer.
ahead to tap different energies, and these energies open a very different aspect of thinking and angle of seeing things. So I believe our Adventist or faith-based institutions can change in that aspect. As you're instilling these virtues, try tapping other sources,
Yes.
not just the church.
Jemima?
I think they should have something, let me say, benchmarking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should benchmark what is really happening in the
In
real
these
world.
other schools.
What is happening in other schools, but in the process of benchmarking, let them not forget the principles.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Benedict?
Don't you think they are doing that as well?
Yeah, they are.
They are benchmarking and
They
they are
are.
tapping into different avenues. But maybe the other thing I need to say, I love the word intentionality. Yes, they need to be intentional.
More intentional.
Yes,
Probably they're intentional, but they need to be more.
More intentional
Yeah.
to actually make these words that they print on the walls. Lakeside College.
Desire to do well.
Desire to do well, mission, holistic education kind of
Are you
thing.
doing well?
We need to be very practical. Get to the ground and say, in this particular month, do continuous improvement, monitoring and evaluation. In this particular month, how have we impacted our students financially?
Yes.
How have we impacted our students spiritually, emotionally, and all of those other perspectives? And we need to be very clear about them.
Yeah.
Patricia?
Yeah, well, me, what I would like to say is probably because I've been seeing this happen, but it didn't have a lot of energy that would push it probably to be on a good standard. Because motivators have been brought, those people who inspire. And at Bugema, I remember there is a lawyer who came and he was once through Bugema. So we got to know that we also have a lawyer somewhere here. So probably what I would advise is bring more people on board.
Yes.
Those people in higher ranks, right?
Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah.
If you had to choose again, where would you go, Benedict?
100% an Adventist school.
Jemima?
I think I'll go with secular school.
Patricia?
Hi, me. Faith-based.
Secular school.
Faith-based.
Okay, thank you so much. And,
So everyone is staying on their ground.
Dear beloved viewer, thank you so much for having been part of the conversation, and thank you so much for staying with us here at Hope Channel Uganda and the Youth Voice Show up to the very tail end of our conversation. We leave it to you as a parent. Learning and teaching starts from home, and as a parent, decide the kind of values you want to put in your child. Decide the kind of environment, the kind of the world you want your child to grow in, and choose. But most importantly is grooming up these children in a way that is going to make them influential and of importance in this world, but also preparing them for the world to come. And as a parent, it's very, very critical which kind of school you choose for your child. And also for the church, there is quite a lot of work to do, especially in bettering our schools, our faith-based schools, to put them up to a competitive standard of the rest of the schools out there. So that our parents who have money and those who can afford and all that can have very good schools, quality schools, for which they can be able to take their children. Yes, it is very, very possible. Thank you so much for having stayed up to the end of our conversation. We've been discussing faith-based education, benefits and challenges. This is the Youth Voice Show on Hope Channel Uganda. You can continue following us on the YouTube channel, can share your comments, and you can keep watching. Download the Hope Channel app. Till next time, from myself and the rest of the team here at Hope Channel Uganda, my name is Edison Masereka. See you next time.